Meet Layla. This picture sits on my desk at work every single day. It grounds me, it inspires me, it motivates me. You see, this picture was taken back in 2011. My husband and I had just returned from living overseas in Southeast Asia for a couple of years. We worked at an international NGO working to bring access to quality education to one of the last strongholds of the Khmer Rouge and Siem Reap. And I went over there, a naive and young 25-year-old, thinking I'm going to use my talents to save the world, right? I had my head so far up my you-know-what on that. But what it did was give me a lot of lessons learned and a lot of inspiration to come back and realize that I could be working on education and the development of youth here in our backyard. And so took the lessons learned from the monks and the amazing colleagues and staff I had from all over the world, came back to Indiana, my hometown, and met Layla. I started volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club. And Layla continues to be my inspiration and motivation. This night, the picture was taken, Layla was announced our 2011 Youth of the Year. And it's through those experiences and that Layla really inspired me to start fundraising for the club. She inspired me to join our board of directors. She inspired me to think about the impact that the club could make, not only in our community, but who we were not serving and what was possible there. And so Layla continues to be this force in my life. And at this point, I had just had my fourth child. I had 4 children, 8 and under at this point. And my predecessor stepped down, and a fellow board member came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in taking this role on as CEO?" And at first I looked at him and I was like, no, I've got enough going on right now. I wish I could go back to that 25-year-old me who thought she was so busy. But now here I am with 4 kids. But then I looked at my kids that night and talking with my husband and saying, the kids that we're serving every day deserve every opportunity that our children have. And so I said yes. And it was all roses and I was excited and motivated, right? And then, as most new CEOs do, you start to pull back the covers, right? This is our club. We were stagnant at best as an organization. Our numbers were dwindling. We had some safety concerns. We weren't engaged with BGCA at all. I can't remember the last time we had an alliance meeting. I didn't know our fellow CEOs. And as a board member thinking, boy, we're doing some good work. We've got a great mission. I had no idea really what was going on. And so it was this point that I was like, okay, well, I have to figure out how we're going to turn this ship around. And to this day, the best decision I made was hiring Dwayne Wilson, our Chief Operating Officer. He continues to be my rock. It took me about 2.5 months to get him to join on board. I had to do some major recruiting, but I could see the vision and the impact. And I got him to also see what could be possible. And together we created this vision. And I'm doing my damnedest to keep him. Looking at you, Lorraine. Keep him a part of our mission and our growth is where we go. But I remember when Andre Arrington, our DOD, came in and sat with me for the first time. And Andre's looking at me like, who is this girl? And who does she think you're on? And I'm like, I'll be damned if Andre proves me wrong on this one. And so I had this motivation. We had this challenge. And then the pandemic hit. So I started my job in January 2020. The pandemic obviously hit in March. Dwayne had just started. And we had a decision to make. We were either going to double down and respond, or we're going to shut our doors. Like a lot of difficult decisions had to be made. And so when the schools did make that choice to shut down, we decided to stay open. And it was that decision that single-handedly, I think, turned our organization around. It allowed us to build that trust and that rapport with the staff, with our kids, with the families that we were serving, with the mayors, with our school districts. We ran e-learning at 7 different locations for over 1,000 kids. I remember sitting there with Dwayne on the little Excel spreadsheet because Club Hub didn't exist then. It wasn't to us yet. And going through the Excel spreadsheet, trying to figure out enrollment of who's going to go where and who's going to do what e-learning. And that time period shaved years off my life. I can assure you that. But what it did is really catapult us forward. And then a series of events happened. And I think this is where the bigger and better and bolder comes into play, is that we knew we had a responsibility to take our club to the next level. And it required us to think differently about how we were going to execute our mission. And so a variety of things happened. In e-learning, we discovered that 90% of our kids were 2 or more grade levels below where they needed to be, regardless of the district. That was unacceptable. And so when Indiana legislation announced House Bill 1008, the Student Learning Recovery Grant, we went really aggressive at it. We proposed to them to massive growth within our organization and that we were going to be the go-to for schools to help with that learning recovery loss. Simultaneously, we were working as a state. Turns out Andre was right. I needed to get more involved with our alliance and our legislators and being a squeaky wheel. We created this 2-year strategic plan and approached the Lilly Foundation. Huge credit to BGCA for helping us facilitate and land a $30 million gift that really allowed us to tackle counties in our state with no out-of-school time footprint. And again, we as an organization went big and bold. How can we serve more kids? How can we serve them more effectively? At the same time, we audited some of our facilities. Our main standalone clubhouse sat empty from 8 to 3. I was like, this is a total waste of a community asset. And so we approached one of our local schools and started a school within the Boys and Girls Club. And it achieved 2 things. One, we were able to leverage our youth development professionals, our really good ones, and use them in the classroom during the day. So we call them YDIs, youth development instructors, to be a conduit and a pipeline for new teachers. And it was a revenue stream. That school pays us a rent. And we have that continuity. Those kids that come for before care are in school, and then after school, we have that continuity. There is an adult in their life that knows them throughout that entire wavelength. Additionally, we created an RV mobile makerspace. We had just branched into new counties and realized that those kids needed access and opportunities just like our kids in the urban settings. So this RV mobile makerspace takes the quality programming out into our rural counties, and each one gets access to those opportunities. In addition to that, we double down on our teens and workforce development. We partner with the district that mandated that when a child enrolls in their school, they're automatically enrolled as a club kid. And what that allowed us to do is have a teen center in the heart of the high school where kids can come in and out during the day, take advantage of our mental health provider that's there the whole day, have access to food, have access to snacks, feel comfortable in our space so that when the day ends, they're just naturally moseying down to the club as well. We also coupled that with our future lab, which is our workforce development. So we have $3 million of machinery where our kids can get the credentials that the local industry can't take on the liability to serve them, and they can get trained and credentialed on site at the same spot that the teen center is. It was through these innovative partnerships that we really felt like we started to have momentum, and then our numbers continued to rise, and the impact expanded. Oops, wrong direction. So this is where we were in 2020 when I started. We had 5 locations serving 250 kids. As of today, we have 37 sites with a 1,300 ADA, and we serve 3,200 youth annually. Our budget grew from 1.2 million to 9.6. Now, there are a lot of lessons learned along the way on that. And when we think about the trials and the tribulations, I would argue we grew too fast. And that we are now right-sizing the ship and making sure the infrastructure is there to sustain and support. Well, when you think about it, advocacy, being a squeaky wheel, believing in what our mission is all about, is one of the most important steps, I think, in getting us to where we were. Because when we are, I'm down at our state house in Indianapolis twice a month right now. I treat our legislators like our top 10 donors, building relationships. I've made it my goal to make our Secretary of Education, Dr. Jenner, one of my best friends. Because when I'm thinking about what her strategic vision is and where she's heading, I want her to think of the Boys and Girls Club as a solution. How can we tackle chronic absenteeism? How can we tackle workforce development issues? How can we think about the high school redesign and the diploma credits? Not everyone's going to go to college. The amazing stat that there are 4 million children right now who are neither in college nor working. We have to fix that. And we need to give our kids a pathways to do that. And so it's through legislation, it's through advocacy, it's through that relationship building that we are first at mind. It's working with our administrators and our principals to feel like they can't afford not to partner with us. They can't afford not to invest in us. And the same message goes to our benefactors and our donors. Because along the way, as you continue to scale and grow, the real mark of a legacy is sustainability. And how are we doing that? Especially when we got this huge influx of cash, the ARPA and all these funding dollars. How can we make sure that when legislators are making decisions, we're in their top 3? That's all we need. Donors and legislators alike, top 3. But really, and I loved when Harold said this, it comes down to people. We grew from 50 to 400 employees. And we now, year over year, have a retention rate of 92%. I am exceptionally proud of that. Our team's exceptionally proud of that. I think it's too high. It's too high because when our club kids walk through our doors, they deserve the absolute very best from us. And if we're not getting the very best from our employees, then it's time for them to move on. And that's okay. And we can become the place that you came from, that we instilled these tangible confidence, these variables, all these the attributes that we want our own club kids to uphold. And this is where our core values come from. We're one team. We're mowing the grass alongside them just as much as we are leading in fundraising. Growth mindset. This is embedded in everything we do. We are going to grow. Get used to it. This is what's happening. And if you are not comfortable with that growth, and if you don't feel that strain and get that excitement when we're going to open up a new club site, then this also is not the right place for you. We are going to be unapologetic in the pursuit of greatness because the kids, again, that walk through our doors deserve that attitude from us. They deserve that mindset and that notion that this is what is possible. And it's through a collective group of people who believe in that vision and that goal that we can achieve that. And our mission is going to stay at our forefront every single day. We're going to talk about it. We're going to recite it. Kevin Deary, God love him, taught me when you walk in, every single one of your YDPs should be able to recite our mission. But not just recite it, they need to believe it. And that's the recruiting and the retention. That's the important stuff. This is a picture of Layla, who is our 2011 Youth of the Year, with our current Youth of the Year, Rima, or 2024. Rima was just announced the Midwest Youth of the Year. That single-handedly for me was one of my favorite moments as CEO. To see Layla and Rima come together and have Layla from back in 2011 be the role model for Rima. I'm thrilled to share that Layla is a nurse practitioner down in Indianapolis. I was able to be there at her wedding. I was able to meet her new son, and she brought him back, and she got to pouring time into Rima. And to see that full circle, that continuity, that impact was truly remarkable for me because these two women exemplify what the club potential is all about. To inspire and enable all kids, especially those who need us most to reach their full potential. And both Layla and Rima overcome great adversity at home. Great adversity. Both were confused about the path of which they're going, and the club played a critical role. I have nothing to do with the formation of either one of them. And if there's something that I have learned as a leader, it is that our YDPs and our club directors and our staff that are there day in, day out, they do the yeoman's work. It's not me. I just get to go out and fundraise and make sure that I am teeing up an environment and a culture that allows them to thrive. But at the end of the day, it's this number that keeps me up at night. 854 children were on our wait list as of this morning, despite our growth. And so my ask of you all today, in this room, sitting here, amongst some of what I would argue the best and the brightest the Boys and Girls Club has to offer, how can we challenge each other so that this wait list doesn't exist? How can we, as leaders, create that environment to take the charge from Lorraine and say, how can we be the most impactful youth-serving organization in the country? How can we make sure that the Laylas and the Rimas of the world go out and do great things and then motivate and inspire their peers and younger children to continue to go on and have this impact and to be a force for good in the world? Thank you very much.